Sales for a business were $3 million more the second year than the first, and the sales for the third year were double the sales for the second year. If sales for the third year were $38 million, what were the sales in millions of dollars for the first year?
Yeah, so my first thought when I hear that is very wordy, and it sounds really confusing, right? Like that's...
It sounds, oh my gosh, I don't
Yeah,
know.
sales for a business the first year were 5 more than the second year, which was double the first year. It gets really confusing, like really quickly, right? But this is, again, kind of like we talked about with a couple problems yesterday. It's really all about, can you write all the years related to one variable?
Yes.
That's kind of what we're
Yeah.
doing here. So I also want to point out, I was thinking about this when you were doing the other word problem. I sometimes feel like when I'm teaching word problems, I'm almost cheating because I have a highlighter and my students don't.
Then they should have highlighters.
That's what I was about to say. Like, there's no reason you can't get a highlighter. It really helps to highlight important information. Just go grab one or ask your teacher. Like I would give all my students highlighters if they wanted them.
Yeah.
Because it's really painful to just keep on reading the same problem over and over again, looking for that one little piece of information.
Yeah.
So I'm going to highlight, like Becca did, the important information. Sales for a business were $3 million more the second year than the first. Sales for the third year were double the sales for the second year. If sales for the third year, and I'm going to just do third year, were $38 million, what were sales for the first year? And I'll highlight that in yellow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this out. Sometimes it's easier to write stuff out than it is to use variables. So I'm going to say, we're going to start with the first year. First year sales. And we can kind of quickly look back at our information and think, do we know sales for the first year? No. Right? That's what the question is asking us. And this helps too, just kind of draw a little box over the actual question. That way when you finish your problem, you can look back and ask yourself, did I answer the right question? Especially in a problem like this where it's really easy to find the sales for the third year.
And get lost.
Yeah, and then
in
not have
all
any
of this
idea.
information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give this a variable actually, and I'm going to say for the first year, we're just going to call that, we'll just call it X. Now we have second year sales. And this says sales for a business were, and this is where it's helpful to have highlighted this, or if you don't have a highlighter, you can underline it. Sales for a business were $3 million more the second year than the first. So if I'm looking at second year sales, look, whatever this value was right here, they sold $3 million more. So think like if I've got X amount of money in my pocket and Becca gives me 20 bucks, now I've got X plus 20. Just if you want to give me 20 bucks.
I'm not going to give you 20
All
bucks.
right,
You're going
well,
to give me 20 bucks.
Thought I'd throw it out there.
Just saying.
So,
We're being realistic, okay?
If X is the amount of money they have in the first year in sales, then X plus 3 has to be the second year.
So why do you use 3? This throws my students off a lot.
Oh, why do I use 3? Because we're saying 3 million, 38 million. If we were saying 3,574,000 something, then yeah, I would have to write all that out probably. But there's no reason to do this. We can just say in our head, or actually if you want, you can write a little 3 million because the unit we're talking about is millions of dollars. So you could have one unit that's $1 million. You could have 2 units of $1 million each. That's $2 million. So it's much easier to work with 3 than it is 3 million. And just think about it in terms of units. Like if I said, Becca has some amount of dollars and I gave her $20, now she has X plus $20. You don't write dollars out.
Right.
So we don't need to write out million, especially if every single unit is millions.
We just need to remember our answer is going to be in
Yeah,
millions
and
as
if you
well.
wanted to, actually what might be a good idea,
Sales in millions.
sales in millions, you could put it here as you're writing it. You could actually go back to where you're answering the question and say in millions as a quick reminder because you should be in the habit of kind of glancing up and seeing, but write it somewhere else that's not in the actual algebra or the math. I think that's a good idea. So now we're on to the third year, and the third year sounds kind of confusing. Third year sales. Sales for the third year were double the sales for the second year. And sales for the second year were $3 million more. So what we could do is we could just say, look, let's take our second year. We could do this two ways. I could say 2 times the second year. This is one way if you just want to write that out first. Sometimes this helps to have this extra kind of step here. Because it's double, you're going to multiply it by 2. And then think about what represents second year sales. This is second year sales. So you're going to do 2 times x plus 3. So we have all these relationships. We have first year sales, x. Second year sales, x plus 3. Third year, 2 times x plus 3. Now this is all great, except we don't have a number. Well, we do have a number, but you need to pull that out too. You would never be able to solve this if nobody told you how much was sold in any given year. So this is where you kind of need to be careful. It's saying sales for the third year were 38 million. So third year sales were 38. And we also are given information that third year was double the second year. So we can say that these two are equivalent. And now we have 2 times the second year equals $38 million. And then this should become some algebra, right?
We got an equation, now we just solve.
It always seems to come down to that, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So we distribute this, 2x. We distribute this, plus 6. And we get 38. We subtract 6, 2x equals 32. And x equals 16. And then we kind of glance up and we say, what were we answering again? How much were sales in the first year? In millions. So we also want to make sure, look at your kind of your variables and say, is x representing the first year sales? Well, the variable we assigned was x, so we're going to say 16 million. And it was helpful that Becca recommended kind of throwing that million in there somewhere, because now we can say it's $16 million in the first year.
Yeah, not just $16.
Not just 16, right? That would be a terrible third year.
Really bad.
Yeah.